Okay, fam, welcome back. So today we're going to be going over the grayscale trusts and how they had a massive pop up as a result of basically the markets moonshotting. Apparently, Michael Saylor bought $1.1 billion worth of Bitcoin, so that was pretty bullish for Bitcoin and the Fed rates coming up. So let's get it. All right, so first thing I want to go over here real quick is the Bitcoin chart. So Bitcoin has had a massive green candle. Again, it seems like every single time we get to the bottom of this flag, this always happens. So I cannot say this with certainty right now, but I can't say it with 100% certainty, but I'm pretty confident that we're just now starting to enter into the markup phase. Like I told you guys before, and I'm going to show you this briefly, the last time we had a cycle, a crypto bull run, we did end up having a markup phase. After we had the massive pandemic, we had the price pulled back up. You guys can kind of see this flag pattern very similar to what we have right now, except this time it was not at all-time highs. But we did have a markup phase where we bounced off the bottom of the flag, right? We got back above the flag, and then we actually started getting out of it, going sideways, slowly moving up, sideways, up, and then we took off like a rocket ship. I think that this is just my opinion, okay? But I think that the bounce that we just saw off of this flag is probably the last bounce that we're going to get. I could be wrong about this, but I suspect it's going to go up to the flag, the top of the flag, especially after the Fed cuts rates. So long as they give us some good forward guidance and they don't drop a 50-point rate cut on our head, which I don't think they're going to do. I expect a 25 basis point cut, and I expect the Fed or Powell to come out and say dovish things to the markets, which are going to cause the markets to moonshot, and crypto will likely be heading up here or already up here. In my opinion, probably sometime next week, and then we'll see it kind of move above and eventually break out of here as we get more into that bullish seasonality. As for us, we've been buying some Coney and some more Filecoins, so it's not so obvious right now, but crypto was up actually quite a bit today. And I'm actually thinking that we're probably just going to go 100% full on into crypto, probably between now and I'd say about the middle to the end of next month. So let's get into the trust here. So we did get a nice little bounce. You can see that the price has kind of bottomed right around this area. So the weekly did close back above this trend line. So you can see the white trend line here. This is a massive, very long dated trend line here. Okay, it's basically the primary macro trend line. So we got above it. We're still stuck in between these two areas, the line and the zone here. So I'm going to tell you guys right now, these trusts could be moving up here pretty quick. I wouldn't be surprised. Bitcoin is slated to go to all-time highs by the end of the year, and Bitcoin and the crypto markets absolutely love it when the M2 money supply goes up and the Fed is printing money, which by default does happen when the Fed cuts interest rates. As a matter of fact, they've been doing backdoor quantitative easing this entire time, even when they've been raising rates. It just hasn't been so obvious to the overall markets. So they haven't exactly come out and said, oh yeah, we're printing money or we're doing QE, guys. But in a way, they kind of have, though, which is a topic for another video. But regardless, we got a weekly close above this trend line. So this trend line is now support. So we're looking at, I would say, once again, roughly about $11.50 going out all the way to maybe $13. But in my opinion, when Bitcoin starts smashing past all-time highs, the LTCN is going to take off like a rocket ship. Again, I would not be surprised if this happened, if LTCN just very suddenly started taking off to the upside and catches everybody by surprise, because that's usually what happens with Bitcoin and Bitcoin oscillators. Okay, so there's that. You can go back and take a look at the zones. I don't have time to cover it tonight, but 54 is the swing high up here, and the all-time high is at 510. So if you were basically just to buy right now, which again is entirely up to you, you'd be looking at about a 320% move. BCHG, same thing. So this one was actually even more explosive to the upside, even though the percentage gain wasn't as high. This one is actually a green engulfing candle. So you can see that this one on LTCN is actually a bullish engulfing candle as well, but it's not as obvious as the one on BCHG. So this one is even more bullish in my opinion. So we got above support, we got above the trend line. So now, since we're in between, stuck below the EMAs and above the trend line for me would be support right now. So roughly about 590 going out all the way up to maybe about $7. Again, BCHG and LTCN are oscillators to the Bitcoin ETFs, or in this case, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin are oscillators to Bitcoin. So as soon as Bitcoin starts launching to the upside, these things are probably going to launch with it. So again, go back over previous videos for the zones, but $24 is going to be the swing high target up here. We'll go over the Fibonacci levels and the all-time highs and stuff like that in a later video. So 253% move here on BCHG. HZEN was just a rocket ship. I cannot even believe this. 41% move, even though Horizon itself is barely even moved. It's kind of crazy. So if we look at Horizon, you guys can see if I go over to the underlying token, I mean, this thing has done absolutely nothing, but HZEN itself has had a massive move. So that speaks volumes to both the premiums on this thing, as well as the extremely small market cap that these have. So we got a golden cross on the RSI here on the weekly time frame that could signal possibly that we're actually going to get a breakout and close above this wedge next week. Again, the target is the top of the wedge. So because we haven't broken out yet, I'm still looking at $2.50 to $3 as support. But at this point in time, based on this candle, I would say that the likelihood that happens is actually quite small. So 275% move. ETCG, so we do have what looks to be like a double bottom here. I'm not fully convinced with this tiny green candle. I would have loved to have seen it being bigger and close above this red candle here, but that didn't happen, so we just got to do with what we have. So I mean, it's back within the support, so I'd say basically anywhere between $8.50 to $10 is a good buy in my opinion. 1950 is going to be that swing high up there, so the move here is roughly about double your money, 118%. ETH, so it is it has held on to this white line here, which again is 1870. That's still what I'm looking at as support because we are stuck in between the line and the EMAs, and there's resistance here. We do also have this huge cup and handle pattern. Again, the target for that is going to be the previous all-time high at 47. So if I just measure from the white line, let's see here, to the cup and handle target, roughly about 151% move. PhilG, this thing has done absolutely nothing. It was basically flat on the day. It was actually pretty flat looking on the week too, so that's weird. So roughly about 35 to 42 support there. It is still holding as resistance, unfortunately, but again, it's within the zone. So I mean, you know, the best time to buy the dip is usually when it gets to a lower support zone. Of course, you know, if I was positioning, like if Filecoin, I'm just going to tell y'all right now, if I was positioning and I did not want to buy anything except the zones, that's all I want to do. If Filecoin had already, if the FILG trust had already hit its peak and it was already coming down, I would have said, if I was just intent on buying the support zones, I would have said, okay, I'm not going to touch this thing until it gets down here. Let's say I had $2,000 to allocate. I would probably put in a 500 here. I'd wait for it to drop down here. Then I'd put in 1,000, and then I'd keep the other 500 in case, you know, whatever. I mean, just have the money on the side just in case is kind of a just in case scenario. That's how I would do it. You guys can, of course, do what you want. So the all-time high up here is at 400. Again, I don't think we're going to hit this green box down here. This is the bear market lows. Usually the altcoins, even though they can get smashed pretty hard in a bull market on these pullbacks, they usually don't go back to all-time lows during a bull market. So move here would be roughly about 1,015%. GBAT, so showing some signs of life here. That's always good. So we have a nice little tiny green candle with an uptick in bullish volume here, 25,000 contracts or 25,000 shares traded. So that's good. We're still within the zone. So support here is 440 to 510. The all-time high up there at 32. That's what I'm looking at. So this move would be roughly about 545% move. GLIV, this thing did have a nice little pop. It's actually back above the support zone here, but it is still below the EMAs. So in my opinion, this zone is still going to hold as a buying opportunity. So roughly about 1170 to 1460. And then the all-time high is up there at 80. Again, these things do look bullish right now, but so a 463% move. But what I would want to see is a candle above the EMAs. Okay, so once we get that, like we get like this one right here, this candle above the EMAs, above all three of them, that's usually a pretty bullish sign right there. Okay. Unfortunately, we do not have that right now. We have the opposite. The price is below the EMAs. So until we still get above those EMAs, I would say I'm not yet super bullish on that, but I do think that change is coming pretty quick. So G-Link, nice little bounce here. It's possible we may also be forming some kind of W pattern. I'm actually seeing these on quite a few charts. It's possible that may be happening with this chart. We'll just have to wait and see. Again, it's not perfect, but there is, let me see if I can find it. There were some other ones that I was looking at that had this. So this one's another example. So ETHE does actually kind of look like it's having a potential W pattern. There is a gap here as well that has not yet been filled. And yeah, okay, I guess that's the only other one. So now moving on to GSOL. So GSOL did have a nice big fat green candle, but again, we are still below this trend line. So until we get above it, I would say likely this support is still going to hold. So 300 to about 350, 355, somewhere in there is what I'd be looking at. 580 at the highs, and then 170 to roughly about 205 is the primary support I would have been looking at. But you know, if we're going straight into the market phase now, then GSOL may just keep going up. It may not even come back down here. So basically from bottom of support here to the all-time highs, roughly about, I would say somewhere in the ballpark of about 90 to 100% move. And then from this support down here, roughly about 240%. GXLM, so we got a nice little bounce here off this, not quite off the white line, but pretty close. And we do have a potential golden cross on the RSI. That's very bullish. But once again, I will say that we are still below the EMAs. So this white line here, 2030 would be the next level of support. And then again, below that, if it gets back down below it, 1430, below that. And then the swing high up here is going to be roughly about $70. So from that first line, 240% move. If for some reason this is a pump fake that we're seeing, then it's a 358% move. Mana, so this thing's kind of just sitting there not doing much, just kind of bobbing around this line. So this line as of right now is 1030, and the all-time high is at 70. It could go back down here to support, but I would say probably not likely at this point. So 165 to about 340 would be that bear market low right there. Measured move here, roughly about 550%. Zcash, still just kind of bobbing around. There's a possibility that this may also be a W pattern, although it's not really so obvious because you kind of have a potential triple bottom here that could also be a potential play out. I mean, either way you look at it, whether it's a W pattern or a triple bottom, which both could potentially be playing out here, either way it's a bullish pattern. Doesn't really matter. So we're still below the zone here, even though we had a green week. Potential RSI golden cross here. I'm still looking at this white line as support, so 315. The swing high up here at roughly about 10 1/4. And just from the current price to the swing high, roughly about 150% move, and then from the white line to the swing high here, roughly about 232% move. All right, so hope you all enjoyed the content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.